Well, hey there, everybody. So today we're going to work on chapter 22, and I'm going to show you kind of what we'll be doing. We're just going to draw orthographic views for the assigned exercises, but we're going to make sure to draw them in a specific way. So when you're looking at like a view such as this, you're going to have some indicated information it's not really saying. So like it's easier to see on this one, but with the way this part is positioned, obviously you know that this face is going to be the top, so you're looking at it down onto that view. But what it's implying with the position it has it at is this is going to be the front view, this face. So you would be looking at it from this direction. So obviously that means that this would be your right side view, and you would be looking from this direction. And that face over there from this direction is the left side view. You would look from this direction. And the same with the back and the bottom and so on. But so when you see it positioned like this, you have to make sure that you are drawing it with the intent of having it laid out the exact same way. So even though when you look at this, you would think that you would draw like this face first, that's really not going to be the one that is indicative of the actual front view. That's going to be the right side view. So even though like on this one, for instance, when we start, we'll draw this view first, it won't be our front. We'll have a right side and we'll project it over. And I don't want to get too many details in there before we even get started, so we'll go ahead and jump in and get to drawing and see what we can make of it. And it appears that they're all going to be on imperial units, so let's get started. Okay, so first and foremost, we'll do that right side view I mentioned, and it's 3 long and 2.45 tall, and then we're given an angle of 30, and it's a length of 1.15. So I can go ahead and close that, and I'm going to switch back to ortho so that we can draw straight. And there's various different ways to like go about producing the next view. Like a common method is to do an offset of 3, and that'd be your first edge. And another trick that I like to do is I'll draw just down some random number, do 3, and then draw back up and find exactly where the end is. So then I can draw whatever, and I can easily delete this portion out. So that's what I'm actually going to do in this case. And it doesn't specify how many views we need, so we'll just do front and right and see if I feel like we really need anything else. So the bottom is 2 wide, and then we've got these lines here. And I'm going to draw a center line because our top is actually only going to be 1 wide. So I'll offset both directions. And then we've got, and this may be hard to visualize, so I'll break it down. So like this edge here, we're going to draw first. So I'll connect this edge piece that corresponds with here to the one that corresponds with here. And I'll do the same for this side. And just so it gets a little less convoluted, we're going to delete out some of the extra stuff now. And then we're going to draw our line straight down here, because obviously, it's going to be 1.0 all the way across. It's a perfect square or rectangle in this case. So then we can draw our other lines, which would be this edge here connecting to the intersection. And it's always a good practice to zoom in and make sure that you've landed the right connection, of course. And it may seem small here for this rectangle, but that's actually correct because obviously, as you can see, it's only that far over. So I'm just going to trim out the little extras here. You know what? Let's go ahead and do a front view, or top view actually. So in the same vein, we're going to start from here. And I'll just draw randomly out, and then up 2, and then back over to where that intersects at this given point. And then I'm going to draw up, which this is going to be the width of 3. Okay, so now I can delete off this little projection portion. And I drew that from the wrong edge. Okay, so now we've got our full boundary of the top view. Okay, so now is a great time to do a miter line. In order to be able to project some of this information from this other view, it's often easier to do a miter line. So basically what you do is you draw an object that goes from the furthest extent of the part, like this is the absolute furthest distance on this end, and same here. And obviously because this part corresponds, this width matches this width, you end up having this perfect square, and then you can draw a line in that square, which is called the miter line. And if you were to go and measure it, you're going to get a perfect 45 degrees. And I mean, even if you change the precision to maximum, it's 45. So the perk of this is you can actually translate data across that axis, if you will. It's just a point of reflection. So what I can do is draw this edge here, and it locates it in that view. So I'm going to then go ahead and draw in what is the rest of that rectangle using the other view. And then all we have to do is connect our edges. So we know that this vertex touches this one over here. So I can basically use some reasoning to match up what's left. And then I just need to trim away the excess, and I can delete all this other stuff. And just like that, we made a pretty quick other view. So that's going to be it for this one. So we'll go ahead and jump into exercise 2. Now this one we are going to draw our front view first. And it actually gives our units as 1, so I'm going to turn the grid back on. That's pretty cool. Okay, so it's 5 long on the bottom, and then 4 tall. And this is where it gets kind of goofy and it's hard to tell, but basically when you're looking at this one, it stays within those cube boundaries. So if it's always on a dotted line. So if it looks like when you're looking at this view that it's actually like randomly up here, it's not. It's just further deep into the actual object. It's still on this edge here, but it's only 1, 2, 3, 4 far. And then it just connects down here, and that's our front face. But obviously there's another face in the back that you have to do as well. And it's the same on this edge in the back, so we don't have to worry about that part of the back face, but we do have to draw the other face. Okay, so it starts here as well, and then it is also this top face, but it is only, let's see, 1, 2, 3. Actually, it's kind of hard to tell. Let me look a little closer here. Ah, I drew the wrong one first, I think, actually. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, okay. My bad. So the front face actually was 3 over earlier. Oop. Let me turn off my snap for a minute so that it doesn't keep snapping to it. Yeah, so looking back at that first one, it was 3 units over, and I miscounted. So this is the rear edge that you're actually seeing behind it. So then we can go ahead and jump over to our front view. And we'll start 2 over from it. And it's 5 wide. And naturally it's the same height as the other one by default. So I'm just going to go ahead and draw that in. So then from there, we know that the front face earlier was from this point, and it connected down here. I don't know why I drew it there. It was down here. So then it's actually the same on the back end as well. I see the problem. I had ortho on. So, you know, ironically, it ends up looking pretty basic. Okay, let's go ahead and do a top view on this one. This one's going to be pretty complicated, so I feel like it really does help. And we'll probably just do top views on each of these as well. So I think first I'm going to move this down a little bit so we can have a nice grid to work with. And for the sake of cleaning all of this out to have more room, I will draw here. Okay, so it's 5 tall. And 5 wide. So once we have this box, I'll go ahead and, you know, start to trim away at it. But obviously on our top view, it does have a bottom face that is a perfect rectangle. So we have our first line, which was the top edge in our front view, and it comes over 3, and it goes back 1. So then this edge here went from here to that same edge, and then this back edge was over 4 and down 1. So they were pretty much just connecting the dots to make it look right, but in a nutshell, you end up with that profile like this. And yeah, that's your top view. It's actually all that you have to do on that one. It's more straightforward than it seems. So next we'll do exercise 3. And I'm going to start it a little further down. I think this guy's pretty big too. Okay, so it's 2 over, 1 up. Oh, I wasn't paying attention. 1 up, 2 over, 1 down, 1 over, up 3, over 3, up 1, over 1, and then I'm going to stop there. I'll go up my 2 and then connect the dot. Okay, so I'm going to leave out this part. Well, you know, I'll go ahead and draw it and we'll talk about it. But basically, there's going to be a hidden line here as well. And the reason being is because there's that gap which comes in 1 down, and you'll be able to see that edge in this view. And we could have projected it, but just for the sake of, you know, getting this done, I suppose we won't bother with it for now. Alright, so now we'll do the other view, the right side view, and it's going to be 5 wide. And let's see, that first portion is going to be 3 tall, but really there's actually a 4th, so let's extend that. We'll have an edge at the 3 mark. Wouldn't you know, snap gets in the way sometimes. Okay, so we'll have a shape roughly like this. But then there's some information that we'll have to add in. So like we've got that little cutout I was talking about earlier. It's going to run up to the end of that 3 height. And then we've also got this, which you could project over, but in this case, you know, we can just draw a horizontal line and know it's there. Oops. Okay, so what we have is our cut through on the bottom, and we have this little section here. And you know, you may wonder, like, why is it that you have this edge that goes throughout? And it's because, you know, you've got the edge for the cutout, but you also do have that edge on the back where the, you know, this vertex is, so you would still see it. And that's pretty much going to be it for that view. There is one thing I missed though, and it's this. So like obviously we need a line that goes through here. I knew I was forgetting something. I'd pull up my key and see. You know, one other thing I missed as well is so like this cutout portion. If you're looking at the ISO view that you're given, the cut goes all the way to this gap. So actually, you're going to end up with this this object line here. So if you want to do a break at point and break this part and make it object, you actually would see that groove here, unlike the rest of it. So, so anywho, now we'll do a top view. And it's going to be 5 as well. And we're going to match this edge here. We'll match this one here. We're going to match that groove. We'll have to play with it a little bit because you've got this width here. So it'll only go this far. So now we'll do another split, break at point. And now we'll change these to be hidden because, you know, we'll see that cut underneath only here. The rest of it you won't really be able to see because object lines will override it. So, so the last thing to do is just to trim out our little cut back here. Alright, so that's going to be that for this one. So next we have exercise 4. And even though this kind of is one of the other ones where like you want to draw one view and you're supposed to draw another one because they want it to be your front view. I think the reason they do that though is mostly they're trying to make you think creatively about what edges exist, but they don't want to overwhelm you at the same time. So anywho, so we have up 2 on the right, up 4 on the left, over 2, and then we're connecting the dot. So then we have this edge, and actually it's going to be it for this view. So then we will have 1, 2, 3, 4, a 5 wide side view. And overall, of course, it'll share the same overall height. And then we're pretty much just matching this to this one. So, you know, I guess I could go ahead and draw a line here. But really, this edge needs to go to here. Go over 2. And I'll do the same shape again. Yeah, okay, so, you know, basically you're going to have your edges matching, there's no hidden lines, and then we can do our top view. And I'm really, you know, I don't feel like we need one, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be 5 tall. It's always good to have more rather than less. So, and it's good practice to, you know, do all 3 views, because a lot of times, you know, it may be required or whatever, really. Okay, so we have one line here to match this little portion here. And then we're going to have the same thing, except for it will have this edge here where it transitions in length. And then we'll go over 2 to the back and have the same thing. And yeah, that'll be all for this one. So then we'll jump over to exercise 5. Open sesame. Okay, so now we're starting to get into kind of a little harder section. They're not just cookie cutter grid items, but they're still pretty basic, really. So we have one that's 1.25, and then let's see, are we given a height? Yes, okay, but it doesn't give us that one. Although it's pretty easy to do the math, we'll give the drawing the values that it has only. So we'll go up 1, over 0.5, down 0.5, zoom in a little bit. And then let's see, we'll just go ahead and draw what we have and trim it. And then we're given this little V cut, the 0.5 value. We can just go ahead and offset and draw it in. We could have drawn it from the other view and projected it, but you know, it's pretty straightforward, so we can go ahead and put it in and not worry too much about it. And since this one's so small, I'm only going to do 1, but you know, we'll go ahead and start the top view, or the right side view. And the overall width is 1. Sorry about that. Okay, so then we can project our edge over. And then we are given a width of 0.5. So we'll just offset both ways, half of that. And that'll give us our V-cut shape. We'll draw a top view so we can actually see that V-cut. Come on, you. Alright, so, you know, I guess if you wanted, you don't want to trim all the time, you could be more precise and do a lot of projection like that, but I tend to just slap in values and call it a day for the most part. Alright, so now, since I had this edge, I can actually just use it. And, well, heck, if I want, how about this? Let's do it this way. So we'll do our miter line. And if you're wondering how quick I draw these, it's because I'm hitting escape space. So if you hit those rapidly, you can end the command and restart it. So all I'm doing is just spamming, clicking, in order to get this drawn quicker, which this one I didn't make far enough. But okay, so now that I've got that, I have one edge drawn, and unfortunately I kind of need a midpoint, so I'm going to add in that little center line. And this is, you can ignore all of this right here. This is for our V cut. So I'm drawing from the first edge to the center of it and then back to the other edge. So then I can delete all this extra hoopla and make this a little more tidy. Okay, so now I can go ahead and draw in this portion. And now it's starting to look like something. And let me double check the key, but I believe that's it for this one. No, I am missing one thing. I take that back. And you may have already noticed at this point, but basically I am missing this edge. I had it drawn and I deleted it out earlier. But obviously, you know, you're still going to see it. That's why you see it here, and it's that, you know, edge there. So anyway, we'll go ahead and hop on to exercise 6. And this one's pretty chill. So it's 2.5. Oh, that was bad. Undo. Okay, put ortho on. 2.5, and then it's 1 tall. And then for the sake of trying to use the values it's given us, it's overall 2, over 1, down 1, connect the dot. And then, you know, we can just grab this line and pull it to its end. And that's actually it for that view. And that's kind of short, so I'm going to do it 2 from the other one. There we go. All right, and I'm just going to match the heights here. And then it has the overall width of 2. And I can just delete off our projection line. Trim the excess. And this one's actually not too bad. It's just drawing a line and offsetting a line, and you pretty much got it all. So I've offsetted 1 over, so then I'm just connecting the dots to get our slant. I need to trim actually. Sorry about that. So yeah, that's it for the side view. And we'll do the same thing, go up 2, get that edge aligned. And let's see, it's 2 here as well, by 2.5, and I guess I can go ahead and top it in 2. All right, so then you just project this edge. And we'll do a miter line again. Why not, you know? It's so effective. If only I would have known it was in the middle. All right, so that's going to be it for this one. Let's go ahead and take a look at exercise 7. Now it's got a little more to it. These last 2 are at least somewhat more difficult anyway. I think this one's probably the hardest of that group. All right, so it's 1.25 wide. And then it makes us do a little bit of math here, but basically it's 0.25 plus 0.5, which is 0.75, and apparently it's really tiny, but it's 1.25 tall, and then 0.5 along that edge, and then we just connect the dot. Now I could go ahead and draw this, well, you know what, I might as well. I was gonna wait, but this one's pretty straightforward too. So from the bottom edge, it gives us this 0.25 value. And then obviously from here, it was just a straight edge. So you end up with this profile like this, and it's obviously not visible through that face. So it's actually going to be a hidden line. So then we will have a width of 1.5. You may notice I project different ways, but you know, as long as you're keeping things aligned, you'll find what you're comfortable with. All right, so the sides are 0.25 over as well. And the reason being is you have 1.5, and then you'll subtract it from the 1, and then you have to divide that by 2 since you have 2 spaces. So that leaves you with 0.25 for there. And you know, the bottom is also 0.25. I could have projected it, but since we already have that value, I'm going to go ahead and just offset it up as well. We can trim off the little extra portion to give us this C shape. So then we need to add in this edge here. But obviously that edge doesn't exist in the middle where there's a gap. So that's going to be really it for that view. So we'll go ahead and do this one. And make it match that width. And it's an overall of 1.5. And this time we won't worry with projection. I don't really see a need to on this one, so we'll just slap in our 0.25s from here. And then we had an offset of 0.5 for here. And let me think, am I missing anything? No, actually. Yeah, so that's going to actually be exercise 7. So let's go ahead and do the last one, exercise 8. And this one's not really as bad as you would think, honestly. I mean, looking at it, you probably think, holy crap, how do I even, you know, go about drawing this one? But it's not too bad, really. I do think with something like this one, it's easier to do the top view first, probably. So let's give that a shot and see how it looks. So we'll draw it just like right up here somewhere. So a diameter of 1.5 for the small circle. And then from that center, it's over 1.25 to the center of the other circle, which is a diameter of 4. So it turns out you basically have a eccentric shape, kind of like a reducer, but you know, pretty basic. So from here, we can project that down. I'm just going to kind of ballpark a position here. So that's 2 from the tangent. That's what we use as our basis. Now this is going to be quite a big drawing, so I'm just going to clear out some space. And it's 3 overall height. So I'll use the extend command to get these lines further. And that's going to be our actual shape here. Okay, so then we can draw our line down and simply connect the dots. And I guess actually we'll just delete that. And you know, you wouldn't think it would look quite like that, but It's actually what it looks like. So the one thing I would advise is, since it is in fact a circle, on top you should have your center mark, and then I would try to have a center line. I don't know if it'll let you do it with the vertex edge. No, so what I would do is temporarily draw a center line and just use it in order to make a center line here. But really, then the problem is you kind of, I wouldn't even bother, because what you have is more or less like a center line that kind of goes in this direction, but I don't know if it would let you do that. Yeah, actually, okay, it would. So that's fine, but honestly, that just looks tacky. I would probably just leave it off. Like, I don't think there's a good way to quantify like a transition in shapes like that. So, so anyhow, we'll do the side view, and we'll get it off this wrong layer after this last little projection edge here. Now we can have a center mark in this other view, I believe, because we'll be drawing with a little easier path. But anyway, so it's 4 wide, and then because these circles are in line, I can actually just draw from that center up 3, and then 0.75 for half of that top, and I'll just grab this portion and extend it 0.75 the other way. So then I can just connect our edges. And we'll go ahead and put in a center line. And I don't know if it'll let you do 2 slants, but it did. Perfect. Okay. So that's actually it. That was the last one. So if anybody needs anything, just reach out. If not, everybody have a great day.